Hi everybody. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. I am Ahmad Rizki Pranata, with the student ID number 234111015 from class MNJ23C. On this occasion, I will be presenting material for the Organizational Design course, with the topic of organizational development and culture. Friends, in the modern world of business and management, an organization cannot simply focus on structure and strategy. Behind every system and work plan lies something far more important: the people and culture that live within the organization. Without a strong culture and targeted development, an organization will easily become fragile and struggle to adapt to changing times. Let's start from the first part, namely organizational development. In simple terms, organizational development is a process. A planned process aimed at improving the overall effectiveness and health of an organization. This development involves more than just structural changes, but also encompasses changes in behavior, work patterns, and even the values held by organizational members. In practice, organizational development is carried out through a series of activities such as employee training, leadership development, performance evaluations, and changes to internal communication systems. The goal is to empower the organization to face new challenges, increase productivity, and build an adaptive work environment. Organizational development emphasizes planned, sustainable, and data-driven change, rather than spontaneous, directionless change. Typically, the organizational development process involves the stages of diagnosis, planning, implementation, and evaluation. In the diagnosis phase, organizations need to identify the key issues they are facing, such as low work motivation, ineffective communication, or interdivisional conflict. The planning phase then focuses on developing strategies to address these issues, such as through restructuring, training, or reviewing the reward system. The implementation phase is when the change plan begins to be implemented gradually, with the involvement of all members of the organization. The evaluation phase is used to assess the extent the change has yielded positive results and whether further adjustments are needed. Now that we understand organizational development, let's move on to the second, equally important part: organizational culture. Organizational culture is a system of values, beliefs, and norms held by members of an organization that guides their behavior. This culture can be seen in how employees interact, how decisions are made, and how the organization addresses challenges. Organizational culture is formed over time, influenced by history, leadership, and the work habits that develop within the organization. Adopted and basic assumptions. Artifacts are tangible things like logos, work attire, or office layouts. Values reflect organizational principles like teamwork, innovation, or honesty. Core assumptions are beliefs ingrained in members of an organization, such as the belief that the customer always comes first. Transitioning to the next discussion, we need to realize that organizational development and organizational culture are closely related. It's possible for an organization to develop without paying attention to its culture, and vice versa. Successful organizational development must reinforce a positive work culture, such as collaboration, openness, and accountability. Conversely, a strong organizational culture will provide a solid foundation for any development efforts. For example, companies like Google and Toyota are often cited as successful examples for their ability to integrate a culture of innovation with continuous organizational development. Google fosters an open and flexible work culture, while Toyota has developed a Kaizen philosophy, a spirit of continuous, small improvements every day. Both cultures support a dynamic organizational development process, allowing companies to remain competitive in the face of global competition. However, it is important to remember that changing organizational culture cannot be done instantly. Visionary leadership and effective communication are needed to ensure that all members of the organization understand the direction of change and actively participate. Leaders must be living examples of the values they wish to build. For example, if the organization wants to grow culture of integrity, then leaders must demonstrate honesty in every action. Furthermore, developing an organizational culture also requires consideration of the local and social context. Every organization has unique characteristics, so the work culture of a technology company may differ from that of a government agency or social organization. The key is to instill values relevant to the organization's vision and mission and ensure that these values are consistently applied in the daily workplace. In this modern era full of change, organizations must be able to adapt quickly to technological developments, changes in consumer behavior, and dynamics. In closing, I can conclude that organizational development and culture are two complementary things. Therefore, it is important for every organization to balance between innovation and tradition, between change and core values. Upheld. In this way, the organization not only survives but also develops into a resilient, adaptive, and meaningful entity for all its members. Thank you for your attention, everyone. That concludes Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.